police, but not police. They're like guards, you
Like
know,
security,
for the neighborhood.
security services.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And clearly they'd been there for a little while. You know, they're kind of like, yeah.
What if I told you that one of Hollywood's most iconic stars is leading a battle against the very culture that made him a household name? Kurt Russell, the man who grew up on Disney sets, is now one of the most vocal critics of what he calls the delusions of woke culture. But what drives this Hollywood legend to speak out against the industry that has given him so much? And why is he willing to risk it all to stand by his beliefs? If you're curious about the intersection of Hollywood, politics, and the fight for free speech, then buckle up. This is going to be a wild ride. Kurt Russell isn't just another celebrity with an opinion. He's a man who's seen the inner workings of Hollywood and has grown increasingly disillusioned with the direction it's taken. But before we dive into the specifics of his criticism, let's take a step back and understand what woke culture means in the context of modern America. Woke culture, a term that once stood for social awareness, has evolved, or some might say devolved, into something much more polarizing. It's a culture that demands absolute adherence to its ever-changing rules, where dissent is not tolerated, and where individuals are judged not by their character, but by their ability to conform. For Kurt, this isn't just a cultural shift, it's a direct threat to the freedom of thought and expression that he holds dear. Kurt's discontent with woke culture became particularly evident when he was asked about his views on gun control, a topic that never fails to stir controversy. His response? Pure fire. Kurt Russell says, "If you think gun control is going to stop a terrorist or a criminal, you're out of your mind. The real problem isn't the guns, it's the people who misuse them, and you can't legislate that away." But Kurt's stance on gun control is just the tip of the iceberg. His critique of woke culture extends to other contentious issues, like gay marriage. While many in Hollywood have rallied behind the LGBTQ+ community, Kurt has taken a more nuanced position. He's not against gay rights, but he questions the need for government intervention in marriage, a position that has earned him both supporters and detractors. Imagine living in a world where your opinions are constantly under attack, where expressing a different viewpoint can get you cancelled overnight. That's the reality for Kurt Russell, and yet he refuses to back down. One of the most compelling aspects of Kurt's argument is his belief in the importance of the Second Amendment. He argues that the right to bear arms is not just a relic of the past, but a vital safeguard against tyranny. According to Kurt, the Founding Fathers included the Second Amendment in the Constitution for a reason: to ensure that the government could never become too powerful. But what makes Kurt's stance so fascinating is not just what he believes, but how he expresses those beliefs. Unlike many celebrities who shy away from controversy, Kurt embraces it. He's been quoted saying that Hollywood is in big trouble if it doesn't check some things, and he's not wrong. To survive in Hollywood today, you have to walk a fine line. You have to pretend that you agree with everything, even when you don't. You have to go along with the narrative or risk being ostracized. But Kurt Russell, he's not playing by those rules. He's calling out the hypocrisy, the double standards, and the sheer insanity of it all. One of the most controversial aspects of Kurt's critique is his view on marriage equality. Kurt has openly questioned why certain demographics should enjoy privileges over others simply because they align with the woke agenda. It's a bold statement, and one that has put him at odds with some of Hollywood's biggest names. Kurt Russell says, "I'm not saying people shouldn't have the right to love who they love, but why does that mean they get special treatment? What about the rest of us? Why should the government be involved in something so personal?" But perhaps the most provocative part of Kurt's stance is his assertion that gun control laws don't actually stop criminals. They only disarm law-abiding citizens. He argues that the woke left's push for stricter gun laws is misguided at best and dangerous at worst. Think about it. If criminals are already breaking the law, what makes you think they'll follow new gun regulations? Kurt's logic is simple. More laws won't stop crime, but empowering citizens to defend themselves, that might just make a difference. As Kurt sees it, the real danger of woke culture is that it forces people to lie, to pretend that they believe things they don't just to fit in. He argues that this culture of conformity is not only dishonest, but harmful. It stifles creativity, suppresses free thought, and ultimately leads to a society where people are too afraid to speak their minds. You have to wonder, how did we get here? How did we go from a culture that celebrated freedom of expression to one that punishes dissent? Kurt Russell believes that the answer lies in the rise of woke culture, a movement that, in his view, has lost touch with reality. But Kurt isn't just talking the talk, he's walking the walk. Rumors have swirled that he's even cut ties with Disney over its woke agenda, although these claims remain unconfirmed. Whether or not the rumors are true, it's clear that Kurt is willing to stand up for what he believes in, even if it means going against the very industry that made him famous. In a world where so many are afraid to speak out, Kurt Russell is a breath of fresh air. He's not afraid to challenge the status quo, to question the narrative, and to stand by his principles, even when it's not popular. But what does this mean for the future of Hollywood? Is Kurt a lone voice in the wilderness, or is he part of a growing movement of people who are fed up with the direction the industry is heading? As the debate rages on, one thing is clear: Kurt Russell isn't backing down. Whether it's gun control, marriage equality, or the broader issue of woke culture, he's not afraid to speak his mind. And in doing so, he's sparking a much-needed conversation about the direction of American society. So where do you stand? Do you think Kurt Russell is right to challenge the woke agenda, or do you believe he's out of touch with the times? The debate is far from over, and we want to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below and let's keep this conversation going. And if you found this video thought-provoking, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more content that dives deep into the issues that matter.